Drew Brees talks about the team still building chemistry. How do you get better than 52 points? And Zach Strief talks a little bit about how the Saints make sure they don't have a repeat performance of 2007 and 2012 and even last year. That's all coming up next on the Black and Gold Today. Welcome to the Black and Gold Today, sponsored by Cadillac of New Orleans. I'm Jim Derry, along with Saints beat writer Katherine Terrell. And Katherine, we just got through with the press conferences and all the regular chit-chat that we see every week. Talk about how the overall feel of the team and what kind of sense you got from today.
You kind of feel like they're going somewhere. Obviously, 3 straight wins, they have to be going somewhere, right? But I think that you get a sense that this team really believes in themselves, that they know that they can go forward from this. They've had a lot of teams that went 0-4 and then climbed back to 4-4 and then eventually missed the playoffs. And you don't know what's going to happen with this team, but the way they talk, they sure make you think that they have the mental makeup to do it.
Well, there's no question that the offense showed that it's got itself back in gear, scoring 52 points this past week. Right. Drew Brees talked a little bit about building chemistry with some of his receivers. And, you know, we take for granted, really, that he had the same core of receivers for 5 or 6 or 7 years.
You really do. I guess you blink and you realize Marcus Colston has been here 10 years. And he had receivers that had been here a long time, but to people outside of New Orleans, people may have not known their name. Derry Henderson and Robert Meacham and Lance Moore. And now he's got to start all over, and that's a big thing. You have to reestablish chemistry, and as he said today, he might see something on paper thinking a receiver is going to run a certain route, and then he runs it a different way on game day. So the fact that they're finally starting to click shows that they might be taking a big step forward. But you do wonder, is it a one-time thing, or are they going to be able to move forward from this? Because 7 touchdowns, I don't know if you can really get better than that. That's
tough to be. But let's hear what Drew said about playing with the receivers and how he's feeling more comfortable.
It's just time on task, you know. Marcus, so Colston, Derry Henderson, Robert Meacham, Lance Moore, we had a good 6 or 7 years together, you know, where those were the 4 guys. And I'd say it's pretty rare in this league to have that type of staying power, that type of consistency between quarterback and receiver. And so the chemistry between us was awesome. I mean, the last 2 years, you know, part of the challenge has been, you know, you call things a certain way in the offense, and maybe it's a little bit of a double meaning depending on the look or whatever it is. And a guy like Meacham or Derry, who I've been with for 7 years, I know exactly how they're going to run that route against that coverage, against that whatever it is. And yet, for a new guy, what you see on paper and what we call it is not necessarily the way that it looks. And it might change depending on that look, and yet we just haven't had time to rep it yet. You know, whereas those other guys, we got 7 years of time on task.
And, you know, different receivers, he's obviously building a rapport with Ben Watson, who's having almost a career year already and has had over 100 yards twice and has become a big part of the offense.
Kind of crazy at 34. It's his breakout year, right? I think the only thing holding Ben Watson back was Jimmy Graham. All the targets really went Jimmy Graham's way, and they didn't need Ben Watson. They used Ben Watson as both a blocker and a receiver, so that's why some days he won't have as many catches. But, man, his last few games have just been outstanding. He's had career days twice this year, and you wonder, can he keep this up? But Ben Watson, as Peyton said, is one of the most fit guys on the team. So I don't think it's a problem where he's going to wear down at the end of the season. But definitely helps that he's been here a couple of years now, and he and Drew know each other really well. And I think that they're on the same page. And eventually Drew and the rookies will be on that same page too.
Ben Watson talked about that earlier in his press conference. He also mentioned the word that Jimmy Graham didn't use a lot, the word block.
As a player, you want the football. I mean, all of us, you know, tight ends want to be receivers, but we're too good, you know, and too slow. So you know, but everybody wants a chance to play. That's why you play offense. You play defense, you want to hit people. And so you love a chance to get your hands on the ball, to make plays in the passing game, but you also understand that it's just as important when you make a great block for the running back to get the touchdown. You know, in the team sport, a lot of times we focus on, you know, catching balls, and that's great. We all want to get the ball because that's when we play offense. But each play and each person that's doing their job, whether it's blocking or whether it's catching, is equally important to contribute to the team winning. So that's that's what you understand as a player. Whereas, on the outside, and even as a player watching, you love to see highlights.
Also, Zach Streif talked a little bit in the locker room today about what's different about this team and the teams of 2007 and 2012 when they also got it themselves out of a hole before slipping back again. Let's hear what he had to say.
It's different, you know what I mean? All those situations were completely different. All those teams were different. The guys were different, and yet, look, if you don't recognize, what happened in the past, none of those seasons you mentioned finished like we would have liked them to. So, I think the big difference is that I think that there is a little bit of a youth movement on this team. There's a lot more energy, I feel, at practice. There's less guys that are wearing down. I feel like guys are, the energy again. I thought the energy was elevated today a little bit. So that's good, and I think as an older player, you kind of feed off of that. You know what I mean? It's there's a lot of young guys working really hard, and but that would be the way I would say it's different.
They have a new coach, and what is different about this Saints team than maybe some of the teams in the past?
I think that they've said it over and over. I think they have a better locker room. I think that guys aren't just out for themselves like maybe they were in years past. And every team is different, but I think you have a lot of young, eager guys that want to prove themselves, and I don't really see that stopping anytime soon.
Speaking of young, eager guys, we talked to Michael Maudie, who obviously saw his most playing time of the season against the Giants this past week. He talked about how he's feeling more comfortable and what the defense as a whole needs to do to get better.
About getting more playing time, and are you feeling more comfortable in the system?
Well, yeah, I think anytime you get out there and get a couple snaps when the live bullets are flying, it helps out a lot. I mean, I've been here long enough to get the idea of what's the concept of our defense and the way that Coach Ryan wants us to do things, and so I've kind of learned my way here, and so just like I said, any way I could help. I said that when I got here, any way I could help this defense, this team, and right now it's playing linebacker, and so we got some things that we got to clean up from last week as a defense. So we're trying to do that this week and continue to get better.
And Katherine, talk about this defense, and when you score 52 points, you don't really focus on the fact that they gave up 49, and people say, well, it could have been 35 if they played a little, whatever. But the fact is they did give up 49 points, and guys like Michael Maudie. There's been a bunch of different players contributing over the past 8 weeks. They've had a hard time getting together, I guess to say.
Well, right. They have no linebackers. Michael Maudie is the backup. So they're in trouble whenever they're playing Maudie, who's usually a special teams guy, although it is a great opportunity for him. But, this defense still has a long way to go. That's why I talked about not getting ahead of themselves and how I don't think they will. Well, all they have to do is look at the stats. They're still very far down in the stats. They might be last again. So you really can't get too high on yourselves if you're doing that. But also, you have to realize that was just one of those games. Both teams were on fire. No one was stopping anything. Do you draw a line through it? No, but you have to think they're not going to be giving up 49 points a game.
And the Titans don't have Odell Beckham Jr. either.
No, and they don't have a head coach anymore either, so not really sure how the Titans are going to play from here on out.
Well, thanks, Katherine, for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll be right back with Thursday's Extra Point.
What's one of the nicest things that comes with your new Cadillac from Cadillac of New Orleans? 0% interest.
Get 0% interest on all new Cadillacs, now at Cadillac of New Orleans. New owners, new attitude, on Lime Street in Rye in Metairie. For today's Extra Point, Drew Brees talked a little bit about it in his press conference about what exactly constitutes as a football move. Obviously, earlier, as of Sunday, he had a 40 for 50 passing day. It turned into a 39 of 50 passing day with an interception after NFL officials reviewed and decided that the pass to Willie Snead was not actually a fumble after all. It was really an interception. But he talked about the football move. Let's hear what he had to say.
I know technically what it says on paper, but I think just in general, we had a couple plays against the Colts, in regards to catches, then guys turning their bodies, lunging the ball forward to try to get the first down. Their arm and ball hit the ground, ball comes out, and it was deemed, an incompletion. So I would just ask the question, what's considered a football move? A guy turning his body lunging for a first down is a football move. But again, I think there's some common sense elements just in regards to the rule in general. I'm not talking about the Snead play, because because to be honest with you, I haven't seen that up close enough to say one way or the other. I mean, if that ball goes to the ground and they pick it up and run it for a touchdown, I think we'd all be sitting here saying, oh, no, it's incomplete. It wasn't a fumble. So, you know, I think some of those plays are bang, bang, and it's hard to tell. But just in regards to that rule in general, I mean, I'd say, you know, going back to its origination last year, playoffs, Cowboys, Des Bryant catching the ball, lunging for the goal line, he obviously has possession of the ball. It's just a matter of whether you're deeming, did he make a football move? You know, there's lots of different football moves.
And we'll let you be the judge and end it on that note. Don't forget to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is the big Picks Day with Larry Holder. You don't want to miss that. He's off the schneid. It's going to be exciting. So make sure you come back and see what we have to offer. Thanks for joining us here today. We'll see you tomorrow.